Hello, this is the PBF Doubles Draft League Power Rankings. Today we are going to be going through all of the teams. We will be ranking them purely based on how good the team is. Coach skill will have um, zero impact on where these teams are ranked and how they are ranked. So I guess let's get into it. Starters, this is my team. I will not be ranking my team. Um, I broke the type recommendation thing, so that's pretty funny. I think it's a pretty good team, but that's all I'm going to say on this because it's not being ranked because I don't want to potentially come across as biased, so we're just going to move on. Okay, first team, the Contrary Chiyus, the coach, baby. So I should clarify, all of these teams have already been ranked. However, we're going to go through each of them and and I'll put them in the place I have already ranked them one by one, so that I don't just reveal the whole tier list because that'd be boring. Okay, this team's a little weird. Um, Now this team obviously it's fairly aggressive. You've got Tailwind, you've got like Chiyu, Chandelure, beat up stuff with Terrakion, with Ambipom getting beat up. You've got Walking Wake. It's overall very aggressive. It's like a Spathra as well. I'm not a huge fan of this team though, because, well, to be honest, Volbeat isn't really here to collect Tailwind. Like, you can collect Tailwind, but you're gonna be fast enough anyway. And your speed tests aren't great, actually. 70 to 115. Like, it's not a good range. But most of your Pokemon are, like, already really fast, so you don't really need Tailwind. You just kind of need the Sun. For Walking Wake and Chi-Yu. Also, while I love Chandelure, I don't like it here because you already have Chi-Yu. You've already got your Special Fire attacker. You don't need another Special Fire attacker. I think they basically do the same thing. Um, so that's not ideal. I feel like there could have been more value gotten out of these B-tier picks. Um, Terrakion and Bipom, it's a solid mode. Looking at the type chart, big rock weakness. Right, fighting, water, fairy, whatever. Fairy weakness isn't good when you're trying to run like Walking Wake, Terrakion, like those both being weak to fairy, and the only resist being Chandelure is not great because there's no steel or poison type. Also no fairy type. Also no grass or electric. So bulky waters could be annoying. Um, anyway, I'm gonna go for Tillister. This team's going in C tier. Um, it's not terrible. There's just some things that could be done better. Right. Our second team, Los Angeles Drampa, coached by Beam Studios. So there's some pretty scary things. Mainly Urshifu. Right, this thing is terrifying. Next to Gothitelle, you've got Fake Out and Shadow Tag. Next to Urshifu. That's amazing. We love that. Um, then you've got your other S tier in Iron Valiant. You've got your A tier in Como O. No, B tier, sorry. I don't know why I was in B tier, to be honest. It should have been A. Like, that's a big steal. Although, you drafted two S tier fighting types. And a third fighting type, which was also quite high tier. And your best fairy resist is Magneton. So we've got some slight issues with the type chart. Fairy, it's not good. It's not good. The flying resist, or at least you have Electivire. Like that can sort of cover it with Follow Me. Um, but yeah, having three fighting types isn't ideal when you don't have any amazing fairy counters. Um, Electivire is solid, Moltres is decent. I'm not a fan of Sceptile here. You have no way to proc on Burden. It's pretty much just fast Shed Tail. And its special attack does of 105 does not make up for the fact that it pretty much only learns Grass moves. Like it clicks like Leaf Storm and Shed Tail, and that'll be it. If you had some like pledge combos going, that'd be really cool, but we don't see that here on this team. Um, so I'm not sure how much it'll contribute other than clicking Shed Tail and occasionally Leaf Storm. Um, I think that was a lot of wasted value. Another thing I want to cover with three NFEs. Um, I mean, NFEs can generally either run Eviolite or Sash, right? The problem here is that all three of these want Eviolite. And even if you did want to run Sash on one of them, like half the rest of the team can also run Sash. So you've got some item issues with your lower tiers, which isn't ideal. I don't know why Slagoo's here, because Comma O is already an Iron Defense Body Press Pokemon. Obviously, Comma O can do other stuff, but if you want to bring Iron Defense Body Press, you're not going to bring Slagoo, you're going to bring Comma O. Yeah, generally, this team's just the low tiers aren't amazing. I mean, Miss Magius is good. Miss Magius is a good low tier. Magneton's a good low tier, but you've got other Eviolite users as well, which could hurt its value. Like, it's kind of a scary team, but there's a lot of weird anti-synergies, and the three fighting types is uh it's like if you really want to draft three fighting types, you have to invest a lot into covering their weaknesses, which just isn't done here. Um, it's still, that being said, it's still a decent team. I mean, Urshifu Gothitelle is terrifying. Electivire is a great follow me Pokemon. Como O's amazing value in beta. You've got some decent threats. And aside from the three fighting types, the item issues, the synergy's not bad. So for that reason, this is going in beta. Okay. Celadon Stuffle. This is everyone's favorite archetype of teams, Psy Spam. Psy Spam and Trick Room. Indeedee Armorage, Sneasler. There's your Psy Spam core. Sneasler's honestly really good. Um, with its synergy with Armorage. Um, it's like what kind of Armorage here? Like dog types. Sneasler's a fighting type. It's got you covered. In addition to that, if you go Trick Room mode instead of the fast mode with Sneasel, you've got an Abrasterian to cover for any Dark types. So this has obviously been fairly well thought out in terms of how the Scythe is going to break through Darks. So that's very good. The rest of this team, Gastrodon, I don't really know why it's here, but it's also not a bad pick. Dashbun, I'm guessing it's here for Lava Plume stuff with Armorage. My only problem is this team's going to be running Scythe Spam. I highly doubt you're ever going to bring Lava Plume Armorage. Like, this thing wants to be sat next to Indeedee. This thing doesn't want to be sat next to Dashbun. So I'd be surprised to see this combo actually work, and especially since you've already got another fairy type. I'm not too sure about Dashbun. Jolteon is just a really good mon. Like, it's fast. Other than Sneasler, you don't really have any other fast Pokemon on the team, so having another fast Pokemon's good, and just something to break for any bulky water types, like a strong Thunderbolt. So I think this is a decent pick. Rampardos is that's 165 attack with 58 speed, so it's another good Trick Room attacker. So with sheer force as well, I think does a lot of damage. It is a little frail, but It does so much damage. Pillow solid pick. Um, Breloom, I question Breloom a bit because this thing wants to be clicking Mug Punch, but you're running Sky Spam, so that could get annoying. Um, I think you could have got a Grass type that just has better synergy, really. I don't think Breloom fits the team. And Aracuda, um, it's never going to do anything. I don't know whether this was like a joke pick um, that I don't know about, but it's not gonna ever contribute anything. It's not even like a glass cannon, like something like Ghastly is. It's just bad with 66 speed, 60 attack. It's not. It doesn't even function as a glass cannon like Barraskewda does. Um, this team's got a small ground weakness. It's not a big deal. Type chart's overall okay. Other than the fact I guess you're missing a steel type. Steel, Dark, Dragon, Ghost, and like they're not the best types you could be missing, but it's also not the end of the world. Overall, this is a really solid team. Side spam's really scary. So this team is going to be going in A tier. Okay, Alaskan Aerodactyls, coached by Aero. This is a very scary Tailwind team. Um, you got a lot of strong threats to go with the Lumis' Tailwind. Goldengo, Garchomp, Leaves, Typhlosion, Shiftry, and Enamorous. Um, which are all very strong options under Tailwind. You've also got potential Sunny Day for Typhlosion, maybe Shiftry. That's an option you could do if you wanted to. You've also got Rain Dance for Floatzel. That will also like benefit Goldengo, Leaves, Shiftry defensively to protect them from fire types. So that's pretty nice. So you're pretty flexible on weather. There are two weathers you can bring. You don't have to. Um, It seems just really scary with Tailwind. Like Tailwind Goldango, Tailwind Garchomp, Tailwind Typhlosion, Tailwind Shiftry with Windrider, Tailwind Enamorous. Like everything, like all these are really scary. You've got Vaporeon to complete Firewater Grass as just a bulky water to help out with this team's bulk if needed. Um, Stuntler, it's a solid Pokemon. It can set up Trick Room if you want. This team doesn't necessarily need Trick Room. Um, it could also imprison Trick Room, which is quite annoying because Eviolite Stuntler obviously has only got one weakness. It's got Intimidate or Sapsipper, so that thing can definitely shut down Trick Room. Plus, an Intimidate option is pretty nice. Everlock Hisui, it's two unique types. I'm not quite sure how it fits on the team. I think it is a rather strange pick, which I don't quite understand. But it's not bad. Like, it's a good value Pokemon. I just don't know why it's here. I can't really say it's bad, but I don't think it's the best pick. So, um, the other slightly negative comment I guess I had was Iron Leaves and Shiftry being here, because, I mean, Iron Leaves is essentially a Pokemon. It's Iron Leaves is a grass type you can bring with Tailwind or without Tailwind. Shiftry is the grass type you have to bring Tailwind for, but you're probably bringing Tailwind to every game. So you're pretty much just kind of flipping a coin which physical grass attack you want every game. Um, and you could be getting more value out of that. Have like more versatile options. Although this team is already very versatile in its options. You've got Goldengo, you've got Garchomp, you've got Leaves, you've got Typhlosion, you've got Shiftry, you've got Enamorous, you've got Floatzel. You've got loads of options to pair with the Lumis already. Um, but it still could be a little bit better. Um, Overall, to me, this type chart looks fine for the most part. It's like, yeah, it looks like you got a rock weakness, but like your two highest tier Pokemon, I guess apart from Enamorous, like both resist it. Um, Only missing types, the Poison, Fighting, and Electric, but you have two offensive grass types, so you don't have to worry too much about bulky waters. Um, Fighting and Poison aren't too important, especially when you've got a high tier Steel type Poison, it's not really needed. So this is a very good team. It's a very scary team. And for that reason, this team is going into A tier ahead of Solon Starfalls. These will be ordered within tier, by the way. Just so you know. Okay, next team. North Pole Ninetales, coached by Spoods. So to start, this team's got some scary threats. Ursaluna Bloodmoon, Glacier. You've also got Tyranitar, Houndstone, Gradient Bellybot, Mutt, and I guess Flareon. Pretty much all these Pokemon want to be on the Trick Room. I mean, exceptionally Houndstone. Potentially Tyranitar, but there's no fast speed control on this team, so you probably want Trick Room to be upper tier. And you've got two Trick Room status, you've got a Rangaroo and Dusclops. The problem with this team, the only Pokemon that could potentially help you set Trick Room up is Tinkaton. Literally the only way you have to get Trick Room up is Tinkaton. Or the alternative is leading an attack against your Trick Room setter and offering your opponent a 50-50. So this team that's entirely dedicated to Trick Room has no reliable way of getting Trick Room up, which is a problem. Because especially in draft, you can kind of get in standard VGC. Sorry, you can kind of get away with teams that are built like this. In draft league, your opponent knows Trick Room's coming. They're gonna build to hard counter your Trick Room going up, and I think 9 times out of 10 they succeed. And if this team doesn't get Trick Room up, it's not gonna perform. Like a lot of these Pokemon pretty much require Trick Room. Like Bloodmoon's really frail on the special side, so if Trick Room's not up, it can just get hit by a special move, it'll die. Glacier is bulky, but it's got a lot of weaknesses, and there's no like screens or anything apart from a Rangaroo. So that's not going to do well out of Trick Room. Bellybolt's just not. Greedent isn't. There's no, and there is literally no fast Pokemon on this team to make a fast mode viable. In addition, there's no ground resists and a lot of ground weaknesses. Same with water, there's no water resists. In terms of what types you've drafted, it's okay. You're missing a water type, which is questionable. This is actually my week 1 matchup, and this will probably be uploaded after I play it. So if I lose this, I'm going to look really bad. However, this is unfortunately going to be a D-tier team. Okay, moving on. VGC Kingdom, we have another Trick Room team. Right. This time, we have 3 Trick Room setters. We have a Moongus. This time, our way of setting up Trick Room. Meowstick, Fake Out, Amoonguss, Rage Powder. That's better. That's better. Probably not entirely consistent, but it's much better than the previous team. Ursaluna, obviously very scary. You know, if it gets the burn, Facade will do a lot. Amoonguss, I'm not a fan of Amoonguss in Draft League, however it is tier 2. Oh, sorry, A tier, so it's not bad value. Araquanid's super scary. Araquanid does so much damage, like don't underestimate this thing. Like this thing's liquidations do stupid damage. Also has access to like Wide Guard, so that's really nice. Dragalge's just strong adaptability, Trick Room attacker. Orthworm's pretty nice here because it can go next to Ursaluna as it Earthquakes. Harbin and Grumpig are both kind of backup Trick Room setters. And then obviously Porygon 2. Your main Trick Room setter. Serena's pretty much here to prevent priority. That's seeming like about its only role on the team. I guess it's also used to remove any bulky water types, since Amoonguss isn't offensive, and you don't have an electric type. I think Crabominable's just a solid low tier. Like, it's really strong, actually. It just doesn't perform as well as its stats suggest it should. Um, so this is an okay team overall. It's very committed to Trick Room. You don't have any form of fast mode. So if there's a potentially a matchup where you can't get Trick Room up, you will lose, which isn't ideal. In addition, I think a lot of the Pokemon here, I'm not going to go too in specific because I will have to face this team at some point. I don't want to reveal my counterplay to this sort of team. But there are definitely a lot of ways to get around a lot of the Pokemon here. Um, we've seen Fire type again. Um, the other missing types aren't as important for this team. I think it's a good team. I don't think it's anything amazing. I don't think the two backup trick room setters were necessary. I think you're fine with just one of these. You can trade the other. Um, I think that would be an improvement. So, this team is going to be going in B tier. It's going to be going ahead of the LA Trampers. We're going to move on to the Maryland Torterrapins. So this team has a very, very bulky Firewater Grass Core. You got Rillaboom, Primarina, Skeletor, just a bulky high tier Firewater Grass Core, which is very strong. Um, there's actually a slight issue which I'll talk about in a moment with this. Um, you got Alolan Persian. Alolan Persian's super nice. It's just a really good Pokemon. I think it goes really well with this sort of bulky offense sort of team, balanced sort of team. Hitmonlee, obviously got Unburden, Grassy Terrain, Grassy Seed. This thing goes pretty hard. Donphan. Donphan's a pretty nice Trick Room attacker to go with Farigiraf. Um, it's just a really solid low tier Trick Room attacker, so I think it's a good fit for this team. Primeape is a solid Pokemon. I'm not sure it was needed. You already have Hitmonlee as a fighting type. Um, but it's still a decent Pokemon. It's still good. I can't criticize this pick too much. Um, Alolan Dogtrio, on the other hand, I can criticize. um, this thing is bad. I think pretty much what happened was it looked at the team and thought, oh no, I need to counter to fairy types. I don't have a steel or a poison type, and then drafted this thing. When in reality, it's got 35 hit points. It doesn't function as a steel type. It'll just die to resisted attacks. Um, it's not a good Pokemon. If I'm wrong and you didn't draft it for the steel type, regular Dogtrio was also available at the time, and it wasn't the same tier. And regular Dogtrio is infinitely better due to Arena Trap and being faster, um, which would both help if the reason you drafted this is for like a beat up user for Primeape Rage Fist, then you should go on regular Dogtrio. Unfortunately, it's taken now, but it was available when they drafted this. Um, anyway, Farigiraf is great, really. It's a it's just a solid, like, bulky trick room setter for this kind of balancy, bulky team. Also prevents priority, so that's really nice. Kilowattrel gives you some speed control, so that's really good. I guess you could potentially disc-quick with Dogtrio, but I think just having that Tailwind option for this team is really nice. Since a lot of your higher tiers are sort of more middling speeds. Charger Bug is okay. Um, I think it's usually better on most teams. However, I don't think it actually synergizes with many of the Pokemon here very well. Because it boosts special attack specifically. I don't think it will be good next to Kilowattrel. It's like two electric types. It's obviously not going to be great with Farigiraf unless you're like really going offensive Farigiraf. Primarina and Skeletor, potentially. I think probably more Primarina. Skeletor kind of just wants to set up damage and then it can nuke everything regardless of Charger Bug. Um, one thing I want to comment on is a lot of the time both Primarina and Skeledirge will want to use Throat Spray. Throat Spray just helps Primarina like set up more damage. Skeledirge, if you run Throat Spray, you can click Torch Song once and you've got a +2 special attack Skeledirge, which is so threatening and can pretty much kill whatever it wants. Since nothing really resists a Shadow Ball, and it's also got like good coverage, you can run Terra Blast. It's a really solid Pokemon. Primarina, I think is less needed on Primarina, but Primarina will a lot of the time really appreciate having that boost after clicking Hyper Voice. Um, so just having both of them kind of restricts what you can do a little bit, since there may be matchups where you want to put on both of them and you can't. Not ideal. Overall, this team's very good. Um, maybe a slight issue with fairies, but that's only very slight. Um, I think the type chart's overall pretty good. Maybe flying as well could be an issue. But I think this is a very solid team. So it is going in A tier. It's going at the top of A tier. And next we have 200 Candies, coach of Fuck It We Ball. Um, Now this is an example of what Joel does in pretty much every draft league I've seen him in. He drafts a bunch of really good top tiers, and then you look at the low tiers. Um, so starting with the high tiers, Incineroar, very good Pokemon. He also drafted a second S tier in Roaring Moon. Right away, I'm thinking, right, you've just drafted two Dark types. You've just spent like loads of your points on getting another Dark type. Okay, right. We've got Sinister. Sure, this is looking like it's going to be a pretty bulky team. Sylveon, Empoleon, Gliscor, like, yeah, this is a pretty, like, it's a very bulky offense team. Um, then you've got Umbreon. I like Umbreon. I brought this thing to Worlds. Um, not here, though. This team, no. Get rid of Umbreon. I would highly recommend trading it. It's just your third Dark type. And quite frankly, it doesn't contribute much to the team. Like, you already have, like, Snarl. Like, I don't quite understand what it's doing here. Um, and then moving on, Electrode. Electrode's decent. I don't mind Electrode here. What I do mind is these two other electric types. I don't understand why you drafted three low tier electric types. It just seems really random to me. Like, are you trying to electric terrain Electrode, setting up for Raichu and like explosion galvanized Graveler? Like, what's going on here? I also think Graveler's an incredibly weak pick. Um, I'm guessing he drafted it. I saw like a video on a Lowland Graveler using it in VGC. It was kind of funny. I mean, I don't think it's particularly good, but I'm guessing that might be the inspiration behind this pick. Um, it's not good. Like, a Lowland Golem is so much better, and it's like one tier above. Um, Spupa is also interesting. I saw some people defend this because like Rage Powder Guard and it also gets like Struggle Bug. Problem is that's about all it gets. If you look at its move pool on Showdown, like I can fit the entire move pool in on one screen. Also, it's got like 5 moves that Showdown considers useful. Um, and in addition, you already have Rage Powder. If you want Rage Powder, you'll never like Spupa only does redirection, and if you want redirection, you'll bring a Sinister. Therefore, you'll never bring a Spupa. It's just not going to do anything. Um, like this team, like Incineroar, Sinister, Sylveon, Empoleon, Gliscor, Hisuian, Electrode, Roaring Moon. They're good. The other four are very questionable. Um, Type chart, yeah, obviously 3 dark types and 3 electric types. Still somehow manages to cover most of the types the team needs. I don't quite know how, but yeah. Type chart has some red. It's not perfect. I'm not gonna go too much into that though. Also, another thing is, I guess, the damage in this team. Obviously, it's very bulky. Um, Especially with all these low tiers that don't really do much. I question if you'll be able to do enough damage, or if this team's just a little too passive. If you had more options in your low tiers, you may have been able to get more offense on your team, but the low tiers just didn't deliver. So, for that reason, this team's going in C tier, it's going above the contrary GUs. Um, Obviously, defensively, this team's kind of crazy. It will be difficult to break through, but yeah. Next team, Something Shiny, coached by iPet Bigfoot. So, Iron Hands is great. We love to see Iron Hands. Volcarona is really solid. Meowscarada, Aquatauros, really solid. I mean, you got to do the fighting type there, but it's whatever, really. Gardevoir, very solid. The Dunsparce, I don't know about the Dunsparce. I think it was overtiered a little bit. Um, I don't know why you drafted it, personally. I don't think it's good. Torracat, I can see that. Torracat on the team isn't bad. I I don't know how much use it'll get. I mean, you have Intimidate, you have Fake Out. So how useful will those two things be together? I'm not sure, but I think it's a decent pick. I think it's pretty decent. Avalog, I don't understand why it's here. I'm gonna be honest. Um, Avalog's a weird pick, but it's also not terrible value, so okay. Cresselia is that's the biggest problem Pokemon I have with this team. Um, you paid like the majority of your points to get something that's basically going to function as a Trick Room setter for Iron Hands. That's pretty much Cresselia's role in this team. It can also click Lunar Blessing, which is decent for like balanced teams, but it's not worth most of your points. You could have easily taken a lower tier Trick Room setter, or you could have just vibed with like Gardevoir and Meowscarada to set Trick Room up. I don't think it was worth spending 140 points on Cresselia for this team. Cresselia is the Pokemon you get if you're going like balance Trick Room. This team I don't think leans into Trick Room enough to be worth it. The Dunsparce and Avalog realistically aren't good reasons to draft Cresselia. Um, I think Revivroom's a good pick. Coughing, potentially. That's Easy Coughing's very niche. I'm not sure if it'll come, but I don't think it's necessarily a terrible pick. So okay. Um, it's a good team, but the fact that this many points were wasted on Cresselia just makes it feel a little underwhelming. Because obviously that's like 2 good Pokemon's worth of points gone on a Pokemon that's probably not actually going to help the team very much. And maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe Cresselia will be really helpful to this team, but I don't think it will be. Um, you got a flying type weakness. Like your entire fire, water, grass core is weak to flying, and your only resist is the car. I'll be honest, Revivroom's really good. Um, but it requires you to be really good to use it effectively, at least from what I've seen. Um, that's the only type issue with this team. I mean, naturally, teams with a high tier fire, water, grass core aren't gonna have many issues with their typings most of the time. Um, so This team's okay. It seems good. It just feels like there was a lot of value wasted, and it just feels a little underwhelming because of that. Um, okay, so for that reason, this team is going in beta. It's going in between BGC Kingdom and LA Tramp. Also, if you haven't noticed already, I did put some placeholder logos for the teams that didn't have them. Okay, so Swampert Soldier. This team is coached by Nopro. So we have Tornadus, Archaludon, Landorus. That's very, very solid. That's a good start. It's a promising start. Got him on top. Good Pokemon. Rotom-Mow, good Pokemon. Swampert, good Pokemon. Gothorita, good Pokemon. Palossand, okay. I can kind of get it. You know, you flip turn Swampert, Palossand. Sure. The Dene, I don't know about that one. You have Rotom-Mow already, so I don't know about the Dene. Then Lapras and Veluza. I feel like you basically said, right, this is a rain team, so I'm gonna draft Caledon, I'm gonna draft Lantherus, and then I'm gonna draft a bunch of water types, because that's what rain's about, right? When, no. Lapras and Veluza, I highly doubt will help. Lapras has the niche of being Parish Song next to Gothorita, so that's not bad. If Veluza wasn't here, I would feel a lot better about this team. If the Dene wasn't here, I'd feel better about this team. There's no Ghost Resists, which actually isn't uncommon. But it's not ideal. The three water types is a little much. See, no fire types as well, which is a little strange. You can justify it because it's a rain team, but I find that it's not even like Pelipper or Politoed, it's Tornadus. Tornadus can set up Sunny Day as well. You could have lent into like dual weather potentially. Obviously, you don't have to. So no fire type's fine, really. You got three water types. You got three ground types. Yeah, to be honest, I kind of missed that for a moment. Yeah, you've got three ground types as well. Isn't good because that's just led to an ice weakness. Now, just looking at this type chart, the ice weakness doesn't look too bad. And then you remember they have three water types, and freeze dry exists. So that quad resist turns into a resist. That turns into neutral. Swampert turns into a sorry, that turns into neutral. That's a weakness. That's a quad weakness, and suddenly ice is tearing your team apart. Like absolutely just demolishing your team. Which isn't actually ideal. Um, I think realistically, Archaludon and Landorus are kind of the saving graces of this team because they're so strong. Obviously, him on top Rotom though is one, but like these Pokemon are all decent. Tornadus is good, um, but this is not it, unfortunately. Um, so this team is going into C tier. It's going in the between Furkitly Ball and the Contrary to use. Okay, so the next team is the West Lanks Weezings, coached by Paul J. Spear. This is like a very solid balance team. Ogerpon Heartflame, Raging Bull, Azumarill, Corviknight, Crocodile, Weirdiv, Mienshao, Frostlass are all amazing. Um, they're all amazing Pokemon. You've got kind of a Fire Water Grass Core. Um, you've got very strong Fairy Dragon Steel. You've got Tailwind or Trick Room, depending on the matchup, and your speed tiers really do just allow you to use either, whichever you want, depending on the matchup. You've got You've got some good bulk. You've got some just good bulky attackers, which I think are just really good. Mian Chao's really nice. You got the fake out. You got strong, fast, close combats and knockoffs. Um, so those eight are amazing. And you've got Vulpix, Grookey, and Toxapex, which I'm much less sure on. Um, I don't think Toxapex is good here because you already have a fairly bulky water type. Obviously, Toxapex's main role is just to sit there and tank. Um, you could make it work, but I don't think it will. And no one drafted Dondozo, which I feel like is Toxapex's like entire point of existing half the time, just to beat Dondozo. Um, so I'm not a fan of Toxapex. And then you took Grookey and Vulpix, which I don't like. Obviously, Grookey is here for Grassy Surge, allow you to click Grassy Glide. Vulpix is here for Drought, for very strong Ivy Cudgels. However, 99% of the time, it's not going to be worth bringing a Little Cup Pokemon just to slightly buff your Ogerpon. Grookey's probably better than Vulpix. Vulpix can actually negatively impact Azumarill, which is obviously a really strong Pokemon, which isn't good. But Vulpix does help Raging Bolt as well with photosynthesis. Realistically, the amount these two Pokemon are helping your team is fairly minimal, considering that you're giving up essentially one of your Pokemon, right? You're essentially playing a three Pokemon game, but your three Pokemon are slightly buffed by one of these, or not even all three of them, like two of them at most, will be buffed by these guys. So I don't think it's ever really worth bringing them. Maybe I'll be proved wrong, but I don't think it will be. Type covers every type but bug and rock, so that's good. In terms of weaknesses, I'm not seeing anything major. I find it quite funny how resisted grass is on this team. Obviously, that's because the zone roll's being counted as Sapser, but when realistically it will be weak, not immune. Um, but I really like this team. This is a sort of stylish team that I usually draft, so I do like it. I just think some of the lower end Pokemon could have been better. Um, it is a good team overall, so for that reason, this team is going to be placed in the bottom of A tier. Okay, moving on, we have Chile Reception, coached by Sergeant Whiskey Jack, and I'll be honest, this is a very cool team. This is definitely the most interesting team that I've had to analyze, and I think it's really good. Um, we have Urshifu Single Strike, very good Pokemon. You just have to ensure that you're covering your fairy weakness, which, I mean, Pro's got three poison types to steal. Um, you've also got Latias, it's another Pokemon that's weak to fairy. Um, despite both of these, like Valley High tier Pokemon being weak to fairy, I struggle to call this team weak to fairy. Just use the poisons and steel and poison and fire type. It's pretty hard to call this team weak to fairy. Um, now we have Weezing Gigas is pretty fun. Obviously, Regigigas is very, very strong. Realistically, you need to remove Weezing because Regigigas is so bulky unless you have like a strong fighting type that can deal with it. But it could also just threaten Terra Ghost. Um, so yeah, Weezing Gigas is very, very strong. I also do really like Galarian Weezing. Obviously acts as a fairy type for your team as well as being able to run Misty Surge if you're not running Gigas. Um, that could just potentially protect like your Urshifu Single Strike or your like Rhyperior from a Will-O-Wisp, or if you're playing against a team that has like Amoonguss, it will protect you from Spore. Um, so I think this is really nice. Misty Surge is honestly very useful in Draft League. Um, so it's nice to have that option. It's nice to have that option. Obviously, it's not something you bring every match. It's not something that directly benefits your team, but it's a nice option to have in certain matchups. Gyarados is a very solid beater, um, and it can obviously be a threat with Dragon Dance, especially if the opponent overlooks it in prep. Since there's a lot of scary things to prep for in this team, if they overlook it, you set up Dragon Dances, you can sweep. So Gyarados is super nice. Salazzle is just amazing, strong fake out Pokemon. Really powerful special attack. Um, it's a great Pokemon here. Ditto, to be honest, I don't really have anything to comment on Ditto. It's Ditto. Like, that's all. Um, Venodamp provides redirection for Urshifu and Latias, obviously resisting Fairy. Um, so that's nice. Unfortunately, Dazzling Gleam is a thing, but it could. If someone wants to run like Terra Fairy, Terra Bars to beat Urshifu, which isn't uncommon, that would help. Um, I don't think it's the best pick, but it does add something new to the team, which is good. So it's a decent tier 5. Now, with our points, Bronzong Rhyperior, just adding yet another mode to prep for. And Lurantis, actually, which also kind of functions as a triggering Pokemon. Because essentially, looking at this team, you've got Urshifu single straight to prep for, Latias, which could go like Calm Mind, it could go Tailwind support, or just click Draco. It can do that as well. You got to prep for Wheezing Gigas, you got to prep for Dragon Dance Gyarados, you got to prep for Bronzong Rhyperior Lurantis, which could potentially run Bulldoze Weakness Policy. Lurantis could go physical or special. As well as that, you got to worry about Ditto potentially copying one of your Pokemon, meaning running setup would be incredibly risky. Salazzle's scary as well, obviously. Don't ignore Salazzle. And just Wheezing, you have to worry about Wheezing shutting down your abilities if there's any Pokemon that kind of rely on their abilities. So prepping for this team is very difficult. There's so many threats to consider. Um, Typing wise, you've got 3 poison types, but overall I think it's fine. Bulky water types could be a slight issue, but probably not too bad, since Wicked Blow, like Double Edge, that stuff's very strong. Um, so this team's very, very good. We're going to place this team in A tier. It's our last A tier. We're going to place it right slap bang in the middle. It's a very solid team. Okay, Gaming Golux, coached by Bobman. This is a very weird team because it drafted Annihilate, so it can't actually be a bad team because Annihilate exists. Then Mimikyu, Zoroark, Hisui. Instantly, we've got 3 ghost types. Actually, there's a total of 4 ghost types. Not ideal. Then you've got Iron Shreds, you've got Virizion, Greninja, Golurk, Wartortle, Fairy, Sizzle, Blissey. Greninja is good here. Greninja can Water Shuriken, Annihilate, just get a bunch of Rage Fist boosts going. You've also got Beat Up, which Mimikyu has access to, which is obviously good for Annihilate. There is a slight issue with this team though, in that you have a Justified Pokemon and a Beat Up Pokemon, but the Justified Pokemon is significantly faster than your Beat Up Pokemon, being 12 points faster, which is really bad, because it means you can't beat up Justified without, like, dropping a lot of speed points from your Virizion, which isn't good. So yeah, that's quite bad. Iron Shreds is solid. You also have Golurk. I'd usually say it's good. I would like it on this team if it wasn't for the typing. Just that second ground type, the 4th ghost type. It's just too many ghosts. Um, Hisuian Zorok, though, being able to disguise as Annihilate is brutal. Um, and Hisuian Zorok is also incredibly versatile. It can be kind of a really annoying support, spread like will-o-wisps behind an illusion, which you can't really prepare for. Um, and being able to disguise as Annihilate is super, super scary. I don't quite understand why War Turtle's here. It doesn't get Follow Me. That was like an old gen event exclusive thing. Like it's like kind of bulky and you can click Fake Out. That's about it though. Like Fake Out, maybe Yawn. Um, I like Clefairy here though. Um, it's later game with Annihilate. You know, maybe you want to set up some bulk up, something like that. That's pretty solid. Sizzle is a good Pokemon. Blissey, it's not bad for a tier 5. I'm not a fan, but it's not bad. Um, yeah, the typings are kind of all over the place due to the coasts. Um, this team kind of it kind of functions, and it can't be bad because of Annihilate. Um, it's just, ugh, it's almost there. If a faster beat up user, like a faster beat up user that's not a ghost type, you'd swap Golurk, maybe War Turtle. Now we're talking, right? But it just kind of almost works, but not quite. And I can see it working sometimes, but it was almost there. For that reason, this team is going in C tier. It's going in between the Swampert and the Contrary Chiyus. Alright, last two teams. This team, when I first saw it, like in the middle of the draft, I was like, oh my god, Fluttermane, Arcanine, Palafin, Foongus. Then they also got like Mudsdale, Hariyama, Duraludon. I was like, oh my god, this team's stupid. This team's absolutely bonkers. We didn't draft any speed control, unfortunately, which is quite important when drafting Mudsdale, Hariyama, Foongus, Vikavolt, which all pretty much require Trick Room. It's like, oh yeah, technically you can set up Trick Room with Fluttermane. You're gonna dedicate your like S tier, like your S tier insane special attacker to being a mid Trick Room setter, just to cover up the fact that you didn't draft a Trick Room Pokemon. Like, it's not ideal. Like you're pretty much just playing Palance every week. You're not going to be able to get full value out of all these slow Pokemon you've drafted. Um, just the main issue with this team. Type-wise, it's obviously very good because it's like just Palance, basically. Um, there's also nothing with Tailwind, just to clarify. So can't make it up on that front. There's nothing naturally fast. I would say it's not needed for balance. However, well, I mean, Fluttermane is, but other than that, um, I would say it's not needed. But the fact there's no other speed control other than like Icy Wind Fluttermane, which again, you don't really want to be reducing your S tier crazy special attacker to being like a mid tier speed controller just because you didn't draft speed control. It's not do well. Could have been so much better. I mean, potentially, if like the right trades are made, it could be really good. This team could like go up to S tier easily. However, there's no speed control. You know, if you play it right, if you prep right, you can definitely just outspeed and outpower this team. So for that reason, this team will be going in beta in between something shiny and the LA Drampers. Now you may notice this S tier is empty, and we are moving on to the last team. This team has Chien Pao, Dragapult. Lucario has Inner Focus, Extreme Speed, and Bullet Punch. Cinderace, which is a strong and fast physical attacker that can change its type at will. You also have Thwackey for Grassy Glide if you want to. You also have Dugtrio for Arena Trap, which is really good on such an offensive team. And it gets access to Beat Up for another Lucario-based strategy. That is an absolute nightmare to prep for. In addition, you have Milotic as just a really strong, bulky water, just as a nice backbone. Ampharos is a really good loader. 115 special attack, access to Meteor Beam with fairly bulky and like only one weakness, so that's like really solid. Streamtail's a great support one for this team. I really like that. If you look down here, it's only missing a bug and rock, and there's literally no repeated types. It says 2 fire types except for Oricorio, but obviously Oricorio can change that type to whatever it wants, really. Um, so this team's so unbelievably aggressive, and it will tear through pretty much anything, and it's going to be so difficult to prep for. This team's going to be so hard to prep for. Um, that being said, I think it can be improved. Realistically, I don't see Graphite doing anything that Screamtail can't. I think Screamtail's the better support Pokemon here. I'd probably trade it. Or you could keep Graphite and trade Screamtail. I mean, Screamtail's a higher tier, so you'd obviously get a more powerful Pokemon by trading it. But I don't think you need both. Um, in addition, I'm not sure what Oricorio does for the team. Its stats are so low, if you want to be taking full advantage of it, you really need to abuse Dancer. Usually with something like Quiver Dance. Um, but I don't see any dancing moves on this team other than potentially Dragon Dance, and Oricorio is a special attacker, so it's not going to work. Um, those are my slight issues with this team. However, I think the rest of the team more than makes up for it. It's just such a terrifying team. In addition to that, it's like, yeah, it's a very physically oriented team because of Chien Pao. But Dragapult and Lucario are naturally immune to Intimidate, so you can't even like mitigate this heavy physical team with Intimidate, um, which is just a nightmare, really. I think realistically with this team, there's no way to slow it down. I think you just have to try to make positive trades and just match the offensive pressure. This team's just amazing. It's got so many different ways it could just outright sweep you, and all of them are really difficult to prep for. Um, and this Oricorio is a bad pick. Graphite, kinda. The rest of the team's so solid. Um, this is going straight to us. It's a really, really good team. I think I pretty much said everything now. I've just been flattering this team. Um, I suppose I will quickly check if there's anything I missed. I mean, again, another reason not to try to bring Intimidate my low to competitive. Um, that's obviously very scary. Obviously, there's natural synergy between um, extreme speed and ghost and dark attacks, as well as like sacred sword, because that'll just and Lucario's like close combat, because that'll break pretty much anything that could be used to resist that. Um, this team's very good. Like all that's really hard to prep for, and Cinderace, you don't even know what type it's going to be. If you try to set up Tailwind to potentially match their offense, they could potentially just nick the Tailwind with Core Change. Like I don't expect to see that, but it could happen. It would be really funny. I really want to see that happen at some point. So this will conclude the PBF power rankings. Obviously, I am one person. this may not be entirely accurate, but I think it is a good rough rankings of the teams here. I also hope that my kind of constructive criticism may have helped some of you with potential trades that could be made. Um, and yeah, all of you, I'm presuming if you've made it this far, you're, you know, playing in the draft league. So thank you for signing up. We really appreciate it. And thank you for making it to the end of this video. To be honest, this was intended to be like 30, 40 minutes. We've just hit the hour mark. Um, so if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this season of PBF, and good luck with your season. Bye.